Good evening. Welcome to Hoboken Arts, Meet the Artists. This is a live Zoom event, and we're featuring 5 artists on the website that are going to speak, that you're going to be able to hear from and perhaps learn a little about their art and them as artists, and just kind of get, an idea of the artists behind the artwork that's on our website. And the first artist we're going to start with is Raisa Nosova. I'm going to briefly just go on the Hoboken Arts website. This is the Hoboken Arts website. Raisa Nosova, she is right here. And just to give you an idea, just to glance through the page, a lot of her work, paintings, focusing on, I know she kind of looks at her roots, maybe, and sometimes her travels abroad when she looks for inspiration in what she paints. Yeah, and I'm not going to say too much because she's going to speak about, what she's working on and what she's doing. And let me hand it over to Raisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to be sharing my screen. So this is a body of work that's kind of, I guess, combining elements of destruction, elements of wreckage, elements of war. This specific piece maybe deals more about an experience of being a refugee. I got onto a topic of immigration. So it was with this body of work that I entered my MFA program at NYU. And I would say that these are the last paintings that I've created because my first semester at NYU, I found out that I was pregnant. And I also, that same semester, for the first time, joined a glass studio class, which I've wanted to do for years. And that is what I'm going to skip ahead to because that is where I am currently. So there are different techniques with glass. There's the hot shop where you do glass blowing. There is the flame shop where you have, it's a similar process, but you have a small torch and you have these smaller rods of bar silica glass. There is the mold shop where you create mold out of plaster, plaster silica, and you basically create any shape that you want to cast and you use a kiln. And what else there? Of course, you can do stained glass, it's the flat shop. So I got experience of working with all that semester as I was in the beginning of my pregnancy. And I started drawing some parallel between pregnancy and the material of glass, which I never thought of either. It was kind of like this lucky accident that I was going through with my experience as an artist. One thing I remember that kind of was on a subconscious level, every time I had to blow a bubble into the pipe with the gathered glass, and that is the first step of glass blowing. As I would blow a bubble through a pipe, it kind of, it grows the more you blow into it, and then you begin to shape it. And I kept thinking like, wow, this is exactly the same thing that's happening to my uterus. Like it's growing. It's also kind of like a bubble. So that was kind of the beginning of it, but I never thought much of it. I was very new to this discipline. And of course, it takes years to really get control over a medium. So I wasn't even thinking of expressing any ideas yet. But I was also thinking about glass as, this fragile material, just as pregnancy is also, considered so fragile, so vulnerable. But at the same time, to me, pregnancy was kind of, this still such a proud experience. It's one of the most amazing things that a body could probably go through, pregnancy and childbirth. It's such a strong experience, I guess. And I'm using the word strong because in a way glass is also as strong because, that is what is now used in architecture. So those were just, I guess, beginning thoughts of the parallel that I was drawing between the two, the pregnancy and the glass. Now, after I gave birth, well, I had a lot of time to think because, you know, I want to say the word stuck at home. There was a measles outbreak that summer, so I couldn't even really take my baby anywhere except for outside. But if it was raining, we were just stuck indoors. And you're kind of like on this cycle of 3 hours with the breastfeeding. So I couldn't really get out of the house. I couldn't get into the studio. I couldn't even get out a piece of paper. I didn't have energy to do anything, but there was a lot of mental work that was going on in my head. And the entire first year at NYU, my MFA, which I looked forward to so much, you know, since getting my BFA, I didn't really create physically much. I felt a little, you know, handcuffed because of this fragile experience of pregnancy, because, you know, your heart rate is so elevated, you're out of breath because you're creating a human being inside of you, literally. And what kind of made me feel handcuffed is the fact that it was so laborious to stretch a canvas, you know, something that is so easy otherwise to do for me prior to that. So the idea was to create a video of how I am in my studio attempting to stretch a canvas, you know, to have the wood that I usually buy from Home Depot, to use my saw to cut it, to, you know, to glue the quarter round molding, to stretch the canvas, to gesso it, and so on. So the first step was to create the tools that I would create out of glass. So that is what I'm going to share now on the screen. You know, the only thing is that creation of these tools took me a little longer than I expected. It took me about 7 months. So these are a couple of tools. I have them here at the studio actually as well. I'll show them later when I stop sharing my screen. So I just completed these in February, right before the beginning of quarantine. I haven't had the chance to get to my studio at NYU and make the video. So this is something that I'm working on now that the building reopened. So while I was working on these tools, I was already breastfeeding. And I was pumping a lot of milk, which was a whole, new experience for me as well. I found a lot of intricacies with breastfeeding. It wasn't as easy as, you know, anyone would think. But I guess it's kind of like once you enter the club of motherhood, you find out, oh yeah, it's basic information. This is torture. So as I was going through breastfeeding and pumping so much milk, I was freezing the milk. And after some time, I realized that the taste of the milk changes and my baby refused to drink it. So now I'm left with gallons of milk that, you know, I wouldn't throw out, I couldn't donate. And to me, it was kind of a fruit of sleepless nights. And it was a fruit of my sleep deprivation and health deprivation and my nutrients. I couldn't just, throw it out. So I thought, hey, I could use it as an art material. So this is the next thing that came around. I started creating the same exact tools using the same molds and creating the same tools out of my breast milk. So I'm gonna play this time-lapse video. So this kind of became I guess what you would call a performance video. So this is something that when scheduled to be in a show, it would only be shown on let's say the opening night. And I would just let the tools melt, create this mess. This paper that you see in the video wouldn't be there. This was for the sake of our university, not, you know, having to do repainting of the floor and so on. I wouldn't be as apologetic. I wanted to communicate the mess that the breastfeeding creates and that it leaks everywhere. Now, as I was working on this, I kept thinking about other ways that I can use the milk and keep communicating this idea of the pain of breastfeeding. And this is the other piece that I produced. So I created a capsule and I filled it up with my breast milk. You can see the separation between the fattier milk and the thinner milk. Thinking about the deformation of the breasts, because they kind of get angled, they get like flat, you get these weird like deformed shapes that, you know, I also wanted to kind of record that experience. And then you also have this this happening of one breast getting smaller. Sorry, I'm gonna take off drink of water. If you feed out of one breast, then of course that's where the milk comes out of, and it's kind of like a really strange sight at first, seeing one breast larger, one breast smaller. That's this piece right here that I'm holding. So I'm still in this, on this topic of motherhood. I'm still creating more work. I'll show you I want to show a 1-minute video. So the idea for this video was to record myself for a duration of 3 hours and how my breasts, once they're emptied out and size A, grow to size D within 3 hours. This is another video that I did while I was pregnant, where I'm basically kind of rubbing over my belly and reciting a list of Russian superstitions. I'm not gonna play it. I just wanted to bring it up. So I got into this video work being at NYU, and it's been you know, new medium for me, just like this experience of motherhood. So I'm kind of making lemonade out of this whole experience and seeing where it takes me. So let me see if, I guess I covered what my current work is.
No, that sounds great, Raisa.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for hosting this and letting us share about our work.
Yeah, thank you, Raisa. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any quick questions for Raisa before we move?